I've worked the night shift alone for years, but that night, I wasn't alone.
This incident happened to James, working the graveyard shift at a remote warehouse deep in rural Ohio. And what he witnessed that night still haunts him. He worked the night shift as a warehouse worker. Nothing fancy, just moving pallets, scanning packages, loading trucks. Usually, it was him and two other guys, Mike and Richie. They handled the 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift like clockwork.
I just started a new job, only been there a week. The graveyard shift didn't bother me. Better pay, fewer people, and the work was easy.
It was a Thursday night when clocked in. Same time, same silence. But this shift felt different. Mike had called out sick, and Richie was in Indiana, running a late freight drop. So James was alone. The first couple of hours went by like usual. A few orders, the soft beep of scanners, the low hum of overhead lights. He took a quick break around 1 a.m. That's when it changed. Like the air got heavier, like the whole warehouse was holding its breath, waiting for him to notice.
Night shift without coffee? Impossible. I was halfway through my cup, sitting in the break corner, when I heard it, footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Then the overhead lights began to flicker. One by one. Something wasn't right.
It was around 1 a.m. when James froze. Heavy footsteps echoed through the concrete warehouse, dragging steps, like someone in steel-toed boots. Slow, deliberate. Each one bounced off the cold, empty walls, growing louder, closer. He stood beneath a flickering fluorescent light, barely breathing, every muscle in his body drawn tight. He turned, but nothing. The long, open stretch of warehouse behind him was bathed in dim, uneven light. Tall metal shelves lined the space like lifeless statues. The flickering overhead tube buzzed once, then cut out, just for a second, before sputtering back to life. The footsteps had stopped, and what followed was a silence heavier than sound. Dense, smothering. Even the air seemed frozen in place. He wasn't alone in there.
As I neared the loading bay door, a monstrous shadow slammed into my vision, jagged teeth, pointed ears, something not right. My heart slammed in my chest, fear crushing every breath.
Around 2:30 a.m., James went to check the loading bay doors. They were locked, still chained. But across the room, near the freight elevator, he saw something. A shadow. Tall, thin, standing perfectly still. James said it didn't move, didn't breathe, just stared. But when he blinked, it was gone. Then came the sound of something running across the catwalks above him.
I ran to the control room, heart pounding. I had to check the cameras, had to see what was going on. And when I did, I was totally shocked.
James ran to the control room and locked the door behind him. He checked the cameras. But here's the terrifying truth. He wasn't on the footage either. Between 1 a.m. and 2:20 a.m., the feeds showed nothing. Not even him. It was like he'd never been there at all. Then the screens began to glitch. One by one, each monitor blinked out until only a single screen remained. And on that screen, there he was, James, standing perfectly still, staring into the camera. But he wasn't in the control room. He was watching himself live from somewhere else. Then, the last monitor went black.
I was standing here, in the control room, yet on the screen, there I was too, standing motionless, staring straight into the camera. It shouldn't have been possible. At that moment, I was terrified. So much scared.
When morning came, James was pale. His eyes were bloodshot. He was shaking. The supervisor arrived around 6:15 a.m. and found him in the control room, sitting on the floor, staring at nothing. Together, they reviewed the CCTV footage, and just like before, nothing. No shadow, no whisper, no figure. Just James, walking the floor like normal, calm, focused. No fear, no running, no panic. The footage showed a perfectly ordinary shift. The supervisor didn't believe what James said. James didn't even blink. He just kept staring at the screen and said, "I know everyone's gonna think I'm lying, but I know what I saw, and I know what I felt. It happened. So you tell me, was James lying? Comment down below. Or is there still something working the night shift in that warehouse? Because some places, they don't like being empty." We'll be back soon with the next true story. Something that happened to someone, somewhere, in the forgotten spaces of America. If this gave you chills, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. We've only just begun.